right, guitar friends, we're back.
Hey! Wow.
Where you guys been?
The mic went, oh, okay.
It's
It's been too long.
I know.
Where have we been? Gosh, everywhere but sitting in this room making podcasts.
I know. I think, is this the first time the three of us have been together in months?
Surely not. Maybe a lunch?
I'm trying to think of
We had a lunch with Aaron
At
at Hattie B's.
hot chicken, for sure.
Sounds right.
But that's
Yeah.
but yeah, this is the second time maybe.
The second time in like
Yeah.
a few months. Yeah. What have you been doing, dude?
Just like working a bunch.
Just like
Just
working
like-
a bunch.
I started a new job at a church.
Yeah.
It's been kind of cool.
How's it going?
It's going great.
Yeah.
It's a music director job.
Yeah.
And I had already been attending there for a while. So
Yeah.
now it's just, I get paid to be there instead of just volunteering. So
Yeah.
It's nice.
yeah, no, it's great. Cool guys. And we just did a live recording, which was super fun.
That is cool. How'd
So-
that go?
It was good. Tons of rehearsals, but made it so that it was super comfortable,
Right.
you know. And your buddy Chris was at the helm
Oh yes.
from your last church.
I've done some
So,
recording with Chris.
Yeah, he did great. It was
He's
awesome.
great.
Yeah, the song's really good too.
Is he producing the record as well?
Yeah. So just kind of shaping it all. He's gonna, I think, mixing too. So
Chris that used to do the studio?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
early Tone Junkie
Early
days.
Tone Junkie
Early
in
Tone
Chris's
Junkie.
studio.
Yeah.
On Fridays in the
Yeah.
studio over there.
He was like
Golly.
helping us mic stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you call that space? Like in the notes on the
Church house.
Church house on the Kemper.
Because it was in the what we call the church house, the house that was on the property before they built
yeah.
the church.
Right.
So now it's
The
just like some
parish.
offices. So it's
Yeah.
like church house.
Those were kind of the days.
Is that 2016?
No.
Yeah.
2017? Yeah.
17 or 18.
17,
Okay.
18.
Yeah.
It's like right after we moved here.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Wow.
I didn't even know that Sonic had Dirty Diet Dr. Pepper yet.
Wow, that's going back.
Yeah.
That's actually funny. My daughter orders that.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about it for the first time yesterday.
It's good, man. It's good.
What
dude.
even is it?
So I get a Dirty Diet Dr. Pepper.
I assume it's just like a dirty Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Except Diet Dr. Pepper.
Way more diet.
And all they add coconut, sweet cream, and lime.
Oh.
And it makes it taste like you're on an all-inclusive resort at Sandals,
Like
Jamaica.
a vacation.
Do they put rum, do they put rum in it
Only
too?
a woman with like.
Surely.
I feel like that
they
would
can't
be-
do that,
They
right?
don't put rum in it, and
I
it
feel
does.
like it would be good with rum in it.
Yeah, it would
From
be
a
good.
Sonic.
It would be good, and it does taste like an island kind of thing, but like a lady named Deb with a thigh tattoo brings it to you because it's a Sonic in the South. You know what I'm saying?
Way more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like the dirty Mountain Dew at Taco Bell? Have y'all had that?
What's that?
It's
That
the-
I don't want anything that's called dirty from Taco Bell.
Well, you already
but-
are getting
but-
it. It's just not. Yeah, it's just not called
That's
that.
what we got.
Yeah.
What is the dirty
It's-
Mountain Dew?
Well, it sounds similar because they put like their like vanilla freeze or something. It's like a little bit of like, I guess that ice creamy kind of thing. Like what's the freeze drink that you can get?
Is that
there?
the fastest we made it to Taco Bell?
Nah.
we had one where we started.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
the
right.
cold open was Taco Bell. Yeah. Are you guys going to Taco Bell less, more, or the same?
No, I don't go to Taco Bell.
You're
I haven't-
done.
I went to Taco Bell
Wow.
one time since I've gone with you guys. Maybe two times, but one time with my kids.
Wow.
They wanted Taco Bell, and the only other time is
Me
like
too,
when I went
totally.
with you
No,
guys.
Yeah, I haven't been in
Yeah,
a long
no, that
time.
place
Certainly
is
not
here.
3 times
It's
last
so
week.
bad for you.
Yeah,
Why would you,
gosh.
why would you go there?
What's
No, that's
what, they got
embarrassing.
anything new at Taco Bell?
So much.
I don't know. I just get the same stuff every time.
Are you
Listen,
still
I know,
value
I know,
meal?
I know we want to talk about Taco Bell, but there's a lot to talk about that I think people really want us to talk about.
That's right. It's
There's
been a long
lot of
time.
a lot of stuff to talk about, and so
Yeah.
I want to get right to those things.
People have been clamoring.
Clamoring, and so and before I get into this, it's important to recognize: look, different strokes, different folks. There's no need to get so upset about whichever team you're on. But
Oh no. Are we talking about politics again?
well, I just want to say in 2023, EU GDP was 67% of US GDP.
Oh, we are talking about
down from 110% in 2008. Accounting for population, of course, because we're talking about per capita. EU GDP per capita as a percentage of US GDP per capita fell from 67.5% in 2008 to 50%.
Wow.
Sorry, so
2023.
just so I understand what that means, the EU GDP per person is half of ours?
Yes.
Wow.
And it was 110%. It was 110. Listen to this. I know.
How does that make sense?
It was 110%
What has happened?
in 2008.
Whoa.
So per capita GDP in the EU was 110% or 10% higher than it was in the United States. That
Now
was in
it's-
2008. Then the financial crisis happens, okay?
Uh-huh.
And everybody, shake up.
But the financial crisis happened here.
Yes. And we recover, and we now have a GDP that's about 50% higher than it was then. And they have just now recovered in the last like 24 months.
Whoa.
Wow.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
I don't
And
even know
this
what
I
GDP
think
is.
GDP,
That's the thing where you ask it to make you a story and it spits out a story.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
ChatGDP.
ChatGDP.
My kids have been using that. It's fascinating.
Anyway, that's by far the most asked question about that I'm getting right now. HW, what do you feel about
Your thoughts on
the
this?
EU's obvious stagnation
Hmm.
of the past 15 years?
How is the... Well, never mind.
Yeah.
That's wild.
John, it's so wild, and it's something I never see talked about. I have never heard a news report on it. I just one day was searching around and happened to look up GDP per capita of like different countries. And
Now I'm really interested in what the rest of them are.
it's funny. There's
Is the United States the highest?
There's two stories in the world because I've looked at like them all. There's two stories in the world. Canada's looks very similar to the EU, which makes you go wait. And then you look at all these countries, basically all the countries in the West, with the they're now when you break out some European countries, they start to look different. Poland looks way different because Poland is like on fire right now, booming economy,
Someone should put it out.
growing. Yeah, well,
Oh, a good fire.
good fire.
Okay.
That sounds mean now.
And you see these little sub stories, but overall you see these it's like a tale of two cities. And and the United States is much more close in its GDP per capita growth, honestly, to China than it is to the rest of sort of the West. And
Weird.
it is and it isn't. You know, so you look at like these big macro factors. You go, what could be affecting Canada and the EU largely the same, right? And it's like, well, it's not that it couldn't be like it couldn't be like, oh, energy prices are hitting them the same, because obviously Canada is a big producer and a net exporter of energy, of natural gas and liquefied natural gas and coal and oil, and Europe is obviously not. You know, so it couldn't be around energy production that there's some problem. It couldn't really even be around energy consumption, because obviously the EU has many more people compared to the production. Canada's opposite. Canada has very few people who live, relatively close to the border for such a large landmass, not a densely populated country, lots of resources. It couldn't, I don't know. It could be all sorts of things. You could, I have some ideas that I'm not going to get into what it is, but, it just goes to say, whenever people go, well, in Europe we do, in Europe they do it this way. I always go back to this GDP number and I just go, but the GDP per capita there has been no step forward
Right.
in production in 15 years in the entire continent. I don't want to be anything like that place.
But HW, they're so progressive.
Oh, good for them. Good for them. Speaking of
Is
the
this,
EU,
by the way, is this Economic Friends? Did I walk into the wrong
Well,
podcast?
I actually have a lot to say about this, but I'm under an NDA, so I can't say it. You guys would love to hear my thoughts, but can't do it.
Just the NDA joke. Got in there.
anyway, it doesn't matter. None of that matters.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
It's just
I'm glad that we're on top.
Oh, it's good
something
for
I've
us.
been looking at.
I'm glad the United States
Yeah.
is still on top, unabashedly.
If the EU had made, I don't know, the production per capita, the gross domestic product per capita was slightly larger than the United States in 2009, and now today they're 50% behind.
Do you think they would say that that's our fault
I have
somehow?
no idea. I have no idea.
Is it still Enron's fault?
Listen, I'm sure you could put together some beautiful square in Dublin.
I'm actually, but
And,
hold on.
and some crappy Memphis ghetto and go, these
Yeah.
two countries are not alike,
Right.
right? Like we don't live worse than you. I'm sure you could do that,
Right.
but unless
No, I'm actually asking though,
Yeah,
did the housing crisis and the economic crisis that followed in the United States in 2008, starting in 2008, did that affect the EU? Did that affect other countries?
Oh yeah. Well,
It did.
remember Cyprus? Like they had a whole banking bailout that the
But like
EU had to.
But like Enron's actions and Fannie Mae and all of that like housing mortgage bubble caused those things.
I would have to have I would have to do more research to have like a thoughtful opinion on how the effects of the great financial crisis affected Europe differently than the United States.
Yeah.
But it was a global banking crisis.
It was a global
because you know, the investment like mortgage-backed securities in the United States are viewed as tier 1 collateral across the world. And that's true even to like the bank of like the City of London, who controls like finance, right?
Right.
So now
when
it's
it
gold.
collapsed.
Sorry, it's not a tier 1. Treasuries are tier 1. Gold and treasuries are now tier 1. But it's tier 2.
When it collapsed, other people's
anyone holding it, right? And then the fallout effects of whatever else, people start going under, right? So but obviously
it's like if you take a loan out from a bank, put your car up as collateral, and then you don't have your car anymore for some reason, all of a sudden the bank's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, a lot of second and third order effects.
My collateral is gone. Now I'm nervous about it.
Remember the banks closed in Cyprus and you couldn't get your money out? Remember you could only get so much money out per day? Do you remember those headlines? Or and then what they did in Cyprus was they said they changed your balances. You had this much money and now you have this much money.
Oh, I don't remember.
And then they had to give sovereign loans and stuff. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's what happens when like there's a financial collapse of a country. And anyway, I don't want to say any more because I don't want to misspeak because it's been a good decade since I read anything about this. And so I'm going off of a memory of things I read 10 years ago. But the GDP per capita numbers, anyway, I think it's more rooted in the policies that since followed. And you find much more similarity in the policies of Canada and the EU than you do with that of the United States that have resulted in the the broken growth story that has been European GDP per capita.
This is my new Rome. I'm gonna think about this all the time now. Thank you.
It should be a headline on almost every. It should be a headline on almost like every newspaper, and it should just say like "Help! Society in collapse. The West has stopped growing." Like that should be like that's how alarming it should be.
Well, we haven't stopped growing.
Well, we haven't, and so now that you're 15 years in. Like the body of like evidence of like what could be causing this should be like pretty substantial and should garner a lot of opinions and a lot of speculation on how this got to be. Because it's not a small thing. It's not like, oh look, this policy changed and now 12 months later they're doing worse. But it's like like, well, anything could happen in 12 months. You can't. It'd be hard to tie things in. But 15 years later, you see, one country's basically stagnant and the other, or one economic zone is stagnant and the other is not.
That's crazy.
But I wonder what would happen if you just took out the Mag 7 and its contribution to GDP. If you just took it out of then what would the per capita GDP be of the United States?
If I knew what Mag 7 is.
Oh, now you're with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just crossed over into...
How you feel right now has been me for the last 15 minutes. I thought we were talking about AI.
Okay.
Have you had an opinion change about AI? Are we going there?
Oh, a massive opinion change.
We could go. Let's go here, and then we're going to talk because we got some AI conversations to talk about.
Stuff.
We got a new Kemper. We got a new Helix Stadium.
Let's talk about the world of guitar. It should be known that I like to play guitar, but I have not played guitar.
Which is so sad.
You forgot how.
Play the guitar at home for fun.
I literally, before we recorded, I played for a few minutes, and that was the most guitar I've played in months.
Makes me so sad.
It sounded good. Well, let us fill you in on what's going on.
Yeah, what's happening in the world of digital guitar amplification?
What isn't happening? All right. First, let's.
There's a new toaster up there.
Let's talk about the new Kemper stuff. We'll get on to some other stuff after this. Okay. But let's talk about the new Kemper. John, have you heard anything about the new Kemper?
Just that it's looks better.
Sitting right there.
It's sitting right there. No, I saw pictures of it, and my first thought was, I want a black one.
The black.
That was my
dope.
first thought,
yeah.
And then my second thought was, my Kemper is probably worth $200 now.
No, they have fallen a lot.
700 maybe.
7?
I saw
Six,
650.
650. Okay.
650?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think I bought my Kemper used for 850.
I'll probably sell one or two of mine for 7 and everything pack.
Which is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
But
So here's the
it
new deal.
looks rad,
Kemper
though.
came out with the new Mark II. There's some new stuff inside, and it looks like they largely gave us some new a new piece of, like a Mark II, like kind of. I would liken this a little more to like, remember how Fractal did the FM9 Turbo?
Sure.
You know, they basically said, here's the FM9, and then a little while later they said, you know what, here's the Turbo, and it's like, what's the difference? And they were like, it's more DSP. So you won't run out as fast.
Right.
And then it's like, is anything else changed? It's like, no, it's the FM9. It's just, this is the turbo.
Right.
It's more than our original spec.
Right. It's like buying a MacBook Pro with more RAM.
It feels a little like that. It does feel a little like that. And it seems to me obvious that Kemper has decided, no, we're just going to improve like kind of what's inside here.
Yeah.
And take this unit to the next.
Can I comment about
keep
just the
taking it through.
visuals of it?
Please.
Dude, the knobs look great.
It does look a lot better.
It
they're not
looks
plastic
so
anymore.
much better.
Yeah.
But here's
But it also looks unmistakably like a Kemper.
oh yes,
You know what I
Yes.
mean?
No.
Yes.
They've updated very little.
If you didn't know that Kemper had come out with a version 2, you would look at it and be like, even from like, if you saw that on a stage, you'd be like, what? How did that guy get a black Kemper?
Yeah,
That
it-
would be my
They
first
kinda
thought.
it just matches the player now, you know?
Exactly.
The black and the red. It was all kind of like how they started doing the player.
Yeah.
So here's kind of the biggest changes right now that's out. They basically said the old Kemper's not available anymore. New Kemper's available. It doesn't look like the price has really changed. And bing, bang, boom, they said also you have 7 new effects, 7 fixed effect slots. So in addition to these 4, in the 4 in the front and the 4 in the back, you can access by going to rigs.
Oh no.
You have
oh no.
you have basically fixed effects blocks.
So hold on. I'm sorry. So they added more effects blocks,
now they
but
basically
not
gave
more
you-
buttons to get to them.
You still have all these, yes. But what they did was interesting. So you now have a transpose that you can turn on or off on anything.
Oh, they're fixed.
They're fixed.
I'm sorry.
So there's a
you can't change what they are.
No, you can't. They're like transpose is there now on each of these rigs.
Oh, okay.
Noise gate is there now on each of these
Oh.
rigs. It's a different noise gate than this. So if you are someone who is adding a noise gate here,
You don't have to.
you don't
anymore.
have to. If you were using the transpose anywhere, like you don't have
Just
to
saying,
eat up
a lot
blocks.
of metal guys are adding noise gates.
Yes.
in front, like
and
a
so
lot.
and so this is where I guess you could even double.
What's
noise
the
gate.
third one?
Compressor?
Oh,
They
that's a
gave
good
you,
idea.
and so as someone who has eaten up the A block forever, I'm like, hey,
Right.
now I tried this compressor. It has
It's a new compressor though.
It looks to be the same compressor, but they only gave you one threshold knob. So they took away the other two. So I guess those are fixed value.
So it's like that. What was that really simple? Wasn't there like a one knob compressor pedal that was really cheap?
Oh, probably. I mean, I'm thinking of the 2 knob, like the MXR or the Ross.
No, wasn't there one that
comp.
was like juice or something? Some like orange juice related.
Oh,
pedal?
Pulp and Peel or the
That's-
Dan Armstrong
maybe
Orange
that's the one.
Squeeze? The
Orange Squeeze.
The
I
Orange
think it was
Squeeze.
just one knob,
The Orange
wasn't it?
Squeeze was one knob, I
There you
believe. That might be right. The Pulp and Peel
Found
has
it.
multiple.
You knew it was out there.
Funny thing, you know, as a player, I've fooled around with that compressor a bunch, right? I pulled this one up. I put my threshold at the same. I tried them back to back, and I went, you know what? I kind of like this new one. It was a little more open, and I still felt some comp. And I'm sure I could have made the old comp just like that.
Right.
But I basically turned this on, and I went, this is cool. I like it. I'm going to leave it on.
It's like a
So-
set it and forget. Easy
Yeah.
to set.
Easy set.
Just one knob.
Pure booster. So you always have a boost available without
Wait, that's
eating up.
4.
There's more. Yeah, there's more.
Oh, I'm sorry. You
We
said
got
there's
4?
7?
There's 7 total, I think.
Oh,
Yes,
wow. So there's 7 set. I'm sorry. So
There's
there's
one, two,
there's 4
three,
in the
four.
front and 4 in the back like normal. But
There's
then there's
8 new ones. 8 fixed
But
ones.
then there's 8 fixed
effects now. Yeah.
Are they fixed? Some are fixed to the front of the chain, and
and
some
are
are fixed.
fixed in the back.
It's like they knew what we needed.
So they gave us a pure booster. So you got a boost that you can put on. You don't need to eat up anything. If you just want a boost ever, you can just turn it on. Use it, right?
Okay.
Wah-wah. If you want to use a wah, I'll tell you why I liked this. I one time, just about 2 months ago, wanted to use a wah at church. Brought it, had to go through each of my performance effects and add it in.
Yeah.
Right? Hook it up, add it in.
Yeah.
And as soon as they made this update, I went, that would have been useful 2 months ago when I had the whim to add a wah to my finished sound.
Right.
And this is like, if you want the wah, turn it on, plug it in. Now, you don't get all the wahs. You just get the one wah model they put right there. So if you want to quickly add a wah, you've always got it.
I wonder if that will change
if
in
they'll
the future.
give you the other ones.
I think they should.
It could. If you want all of the wahs, you just got to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
But you've got
I just
this
don't
one.
understand technically why that was the
Why-
decision they made.
And then we've got vintage chorus. They gave us a vintage chorus in front whenever you want it.
I like that.
Then it goes through A, B, C, D.
Oh, okay.
Then we go amp, cab, everything. Then we go X mod. And then they gave us an air chorus in the back, a double tracker.
Oh.
If you want it.
Wait, is a double tracker like a stereo split thing?
It double track. Yeah, it's like the
wider.
simulated double tracker.
Like a
So you basically
like a several millisecond split.
yeah, and you
between-
can decide like how with the looseness and with the looseness you decide.
Oh,
so they
okay.
gave you a double tracker.
Nice.
So they're not really new effects, but they gave you basically the ability to run more effects, but you're not completely open. So now you've got your 8, and then you've got some stuff. To me, here's what I like. I like the stuff that's utility that feels like. Sure, like there's a boost here. I don't need to eat. I don't need to like. I guess it could always be useful to have a boost, right? Compressor. It's now away from my other effects. Noise gate away from my other effects. Wah away from my. I'm a person who's like maybe I'll use the wah, but like I said, I had to go change like 3 performance right to make the wah function.
Right.
In this, I could have just turned it on.
Yeah, and the wah is not really like the wah makes sense to me because it's not really part of a sound.
Right.
It's like an extra thing.
Yeah.
That you do sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, these feel halfway between like I got some more effects and also like a little more utility, usability kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like
it doesn't feel proper to say they added 7 effects blocks.
No,
it's not really. They didn't double
Yeah,
the effects.
but you
blocks.
don't eat up the 8 that you already had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and-
if you're a person that was using 2 or 3 of those on every single
Yeah.
profile,
You only had 6 effects blocks. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that just opened up a bunch of stuff. for
Yeah,
you.
and I think for
If you're
me-
okay with the one, that's the only caveat.
Yeah.
If you're okay with the one variation of it that they gave you.
Yeah, and for me, I immediately noticed, okay, I don't have to eat up my compressor block, and I often use a tube screamer as a little bit of a boost just to get me like one gain level up. And so now I started using the pure booster, and I was like, I see how this is useful for that same thing. I'm not sure I'll switch it, but if you want a boost in the transpose and the wah, and it feels like I don't know, it just feels good. Is it worth buying a new Kemper over?
Probably not.
No,
I mean, no. But that's because
They're not doing that.
right, and that's because what they've done now is they've also announced this new profiling technology, and they claim that it's now 100,000 points of reference to the amp sound to this new thing. They haven't said how many points the original one is.
Right.
The rumor is
Right.
I haven't signed my Kemper NDA. I'm about to sign it later today, but I didn't sign it yet because I knew we would be doing this podcast. So I didn't want to sign my
Technically,
I didn't want
not
to
within.
Right.
yeah,
Let
I didn't
the
want to
record
sign
show.
it and
Yeah.
send it back. I haven't even read it. Hopefully in there doesn't say I won't mention the NDA because I am right now. But I'll say yes. I'll apologize to them if that is the case. I won't read it, to be honest with you. I'll just sign it. This is an honest podcast here.
Yeah.
They are going to test this thing with third-party vendors, and I think that's really fair. I'm actually glad because I don't want them to put something out that's broken and have everyone upset about it, right? The rumor going around, I have not heard this substantiated, is that you will use the computer for training. I made a whole video on this, so I'm not saying anything new. There's a rumor going around you'll do training on the computer. I'm guessing that means you will use this for the ins and outs. It will send the sound out, do all that, and then via USB, it may send in and do some ML training on the computer.
Now, because there's already talk about like new versions of profiles, right? Or is that like what this is?
That's this.
That's this. Will the old Kempers be able to play those?
What we've been told, they've confirmed the old Kempers, the Mark I Kempers, will play the new profiles, but at this sort of lower fidelity, at the original fidelity of a Mark I. So this is where I get a little confused.
That is weird.
Because what I'm hearing is, yes, they'll be able to play it. Is it going to be more accurate? Look, if you have a profile and the base is a little less basey than the original thing, and now the base is the same, you would think it's going to be more accurate on the Mark I. But whatever, I don't really know how many, I don't know how the output is going to be different here than on those. But and I don't know this. It could also be that the Mark I profiles or the regular profiles, these new Mark II profiles or these special profiles, it could even be that they need to be converted via Rig Manager or something. When Kemper used to have this cab converter software that you download separately, and then at some point when they switched Rig Manager, they made Rig Manager better. Maybe when they gave us the editor or somewhere around that. If you notice, what happens is when you bring in old Kemper files like .kipr, when you drag them in, it converts them for you, and when you pull them back out, they're now the new format, right? So same thing is true with cabs or IRs. When you drag in IRs, it converts it to that Kemper cab format.
Right.
There used to be a separate piece of software to do it. So I have no idea. I'm speculating. Could it be that these new files, Rig Manager will somehow convert into, here's the Mark I compatible version? But what we've heard is the new Mark II Kemper runs this new profiling technology. The Mark Is will run profiles made on the Mark II, but there will be some difference in fidelity, whatever. Here's another thing I don't know. I'm speculating now. Could there be controls on the Mark II profiles that we get, new deep editing stuff in the answer? That maybe we don't get on the Mark I.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how the text.
And maybe that's what they mean by it'll play, but at a lower fidelity, meaning you can't control all of the things that you can control.
Yeah.
On the Mark II.
And I mean, so cool. Definitely when this stuff is available to be shown.
Right.
I mean, you'll see a bunch of videos going, here's a Mark I and a Mark II, same profile.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mark I, Mark II, right? And you'll hear
a whole new null test set.
Ugh. And what you'll see is now they did make a big deal about the IR technology. They said part of this technology is creating the most accurate IR technology. So something is new in the cab section, and they talked about speaker dynamics or something.
But they are as part of because when you make a Kemper profile, it automatically produces an IR that you can disable.
Yes.
And so they're saying they've improved that.
Or it makes a Kemper cab. It makes a split somewhere.
Yeah.
Tonex now does that too.
Oh, it does?
It does, yeah. You can turn off the cab. When you make a whole Tonex rig, you can defeat the cab, which is kind of a copy of the Kemper functionality. But
is that good?
You know what? To be honest with you, I have not tried it enough in the Tonex to really have formed an opinion.
Right.
Okay. I haven't done that a bunch.
I've only ever made direct profiles.
Yeah.
So I've never seen that.
Yeah. Cool. So I mean, we don't. That's about all. So they basically launched this thing and said, new profiling tech coming out.
It really was kind of a shock. It was like, hey, here's a bunch of new stuff. You're welcome.
Yeah, and the thing
all
is,
of a sudden,
a lot of it was just more power. Here's more power.
Yeah.
So cool. Looking at it, it made me go, this is cool. I'm gonna buy some of these, and because I want to make the new profiles. But I did get the stage as well.
Is that the new one?
Oh, here it is.
Is it smaller?
No, it's the same exact, just different color.
Same size,
just black.
It looks so good.
They really do look better.
It does, yeah. And look, here's the remote.
The remote is also black.
The remote just looks sleek, super sleek, which I dig. There's the old remote. You guys can see it, but it's not in the frame there.
Yeah.
And my old remote.
I forgot how green they are.
Yeah.
They're very
high
green.
Quality commentary.
No, they're very green.
A lot of people are
that
saying
is.
this too, and I'll say I don't know if it's true or my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little crisper.
The sound.
The sound is better.
There's a little it feels just the slightest bit more crisp or hi-fi or clear than the other one. I have both sitting here. I played them both together.
Right.
The only difference is one is using a powered cab and the other is a powered Kemper using a non-powered cab. So there's some difference in that speaker to this speaker. So maybe that's what I'm hearing.
That's far too much variation for
yes,
an accurate
exactly.
test.
Right. So it's like they're both Kemper cones,
Science
but they're not the
brain.
exact same.
If you
but-
submit that as an actual thing, no one will.
The scientific community will poo-poo it.
Yeah.
But they
The null
sound,
test police will come out to get
Yeah.
you.
but they sound the same. I mean, they're not. I mean, it's not. That's the difference.
Right.
So a lot of people have been saying, this feels like not enough of a difference for me to buy a new one. And I would say right now that's probably true because we haven't seen any new.
Once a new profiling comes out, that's going to be the real.
And my suspicion
real
is
test.
the Mark IIs will run 2 amps in the not so distant future. Left and right.
Which feels like a big upgrade.
And I think that's coming.
Yeah.
I really think that's coming.
But not to the Mark Ones, you think?
No.
Because of the new DSP, it's just able to do more.
So they announced like the Mark II officially has more DSP. Is that the thing?
I guess so. I don't know if there's DSP. I don't know, dude. I hear all these people going, "No, the CPU's the same, but it's an upgraded the CPU's the same, but the DSP chip's the same, but the CPU is now different." And I don't know about any of this anymore. All I know is my ChatGDP rewrites my emails. I'm supposed to buy NVIDIA stock because of that. And this thing is going to profile better than the old one. I don't understand why.
You're sticking to what you know.
That's what I know about
I
AI
gotcha.
hardware at this point.
Yeah.
My prediction, we will get 2 amps. On the Helix, if you want full spillover, you can turn that on and you cut your DSP like in half to do it.
Sure.
Okay. And most people then don't go for that. The Kemper gives you true spillover.
Yeah, doesn't it do it automatically?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's on by default.
I think it's on by default. Yeah. So the real test I think here is, are we going to get 2 amps, right? Profiles on each side. And are we going to get spillover? And I think the answer to that is that will happen. I'm guessing that's coming because they have heard everything that's said. Like we've heard it, which means they've heard it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah,
not like what people are saying and want is a surprise to them.
Right.
Yeah.
I know there's this idea that like they never listen or something, but it's
Right.
not really true that none of them are on their own forum or something. Of course they are. You know what I'm saying? What are you looking for, John?
I was looking for a Mark I toaster
There's one in the other room. I've dragged it in there.
because the buttons on the top look tiny. They look really small.
The
Are
buttons?
are they the same size like the effect buttons?
They're the.
Like those to those.
Let's see how they took out the stomp, stack, and effects big buttons.
Right. So you can't turn off the whole thing anymore.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Correct.
Did anyone use that?
I don't know.
I did to lock them. I would like lock a whole
Lock
section.
the whole section. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, they look clean.
They look nice.
Yeah, they look.
I don't think I'll buy one
Yeah.
unless
I mean, I feel like what's going to happen is because I feel like this is Kemper's. They could have with the player. They could. By the way, the player has the new profiling tech. So if you had bought the little player pedal,
right.
it's this. It got the new effects. It
But
got
the-
these fixed effects.
Right.
So they moved morphing to level 1. So if you bought that player, you had a level 1, right? And then they had level 2, level 3, where you could go from 2 effects in front, 2 effects after, to
you just
4
lost me on
effects.
what levels mean.
So the profile player.
Here it comes.
So the profile player.
Educate me, HW. There it is.
So basically, it's hard to show you because this thing has so few buttons.
Right.
But basically, this was like a mini Kemper, except for it only had 2 effects in front and 2 effects in the back.
Okay.
And that was sold for whatever, $700 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you could.
Oh, I remember now.
You could go online. You could pay
You
the
go
extra
online and
money.
pay, and then
basically,
the
if you paid,
software
if
unlocked.
you paid $300, it became a full mini Kemper with morphing, just as many effects and everything.
Oh, wow.
These new fixed effects they push to every level. So even if you're level 1 on this, now you've got the compressor, pure boost, wah, vintage course up front. It actually does change a lot. Now you can still have 2 more in the front,
Right.
and then you got 2 after.
ton,
So
yeah.
you kind of just gain the ability to run, chorus, boost, compressor, and 2 of your effects, and the
That
delay and
also-
reverb in the back.
Yeah.
So anyway, this has always been full Kemper, but they added something. They said this is getting the new profiling tech. So they said this is capable of the new profiling tech because they basically said
When you say capable of new profiling, you mean playing the profiles or making them?
both.
Wow.
They basically said, oh, by the way, this is actually a Mark II.
Because that hasn't been able to
Because
profile.
they didn't want to tell us about all this stuff they've been working on, but
Yeah.
they've been developing these changes since all the way back here. And so when they came out with this, they knew we're going to upgrade the old ones. See, it's like Tesla, right? It's just like Tesla, right?
Yeah.
They had the S and the X, then they released the 3, then they released the Y, and eventually people were like yelling, refresh the S and the X. They're like dated.
Right.
And Tesla's like, yeah, okay, we will.
And then they did.
And by the time they did so, they had put in like all the new tech that was in the 3s.
Yeah.
Basically made the S and the X very fast and very efficient
Right.
and stuff. Okay. And then you see all that tech like going back down once they refresh the 3 and the X and the Y.
You know what's hilarious about this?
Yeah.
So rewind on this podcast
Yes.
to our discussion
Yeah.
with Christoph Kemper at NAMM
Yes.
when this was out,
Yes.
talking about Kemper 2. And he basically brushed it off.
And he could have said you have a Kemper 2 in your hand, right?
Like so you know what I mean? And it's just like props to him because I came away from that conversation pretty sure that this was their direction forward,
Right.
and that they never intended
To do a
a whole new
like
refresh.
here's a whole new platform, nothing's compatible.
And I actually talked with Christoph for a while just on at their booth about, because he's, he writes the code for some of these things too, and I nerded out with him for a little bit on how that part of it works. And so I came away from that very sure that that there would never be a Kemper 2.
yeah.
So
And
good
we
on you,
kinda
Chris. Good on you, Christoph. I
Yeah.
hope you play poker.
And we
because
kind of got this Mark II.
be a
Now,
good poker player.
this is to me where I think like I try to be very thoughtful about like what they're telling us and stuff. One of the reasons I think that dual profiling is like a dual profile is coming, like the ability to play 2 profiles, is the stage was a move towards being more mobile and they took away some buttons. They took away the stage almost has all the front button functionality, and then they went here and they went no screen at all.
Right.
When people are saying, "Give us a screen, we want touchscreen, we want touchscreen," they went here,
Right.
and that tells me that they're pretty like okay with. Here's the unit, it performs. You set it up on your computer. You set it up in a different environment than you play it live. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the QC and now the Stadium and now anything, the Head Rush, ToneMaster Pro, anything with a touchscreen.
Wait, I thought you were joking. There's a product called Helix Stadium.
I will
my
get
gosh.
to it. We're going to do that in the next little thing. But I'm going to give it to you.
Just get ready.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
I love that you don't know about that, but it signals to me this, that they're basically like, unlike QC, unlike anything with a touchscreen, basically, all the touchscreen units, if you notice what they do, they look almost the exact same on the on-screen editor as they do when you take them out, and that's sort of the goal. You want this continuity between the desktop experience and there, and for the QC Nano and for this and for some of these other things, they're basically saying, like Kemper's pitch with this was, editable on the best screen you already own, right? Which is like kind of one of those like subtly genius like marketing statements, right? Like editable. And they were just basically saying, look, we already developed the iPad and the and the phone,
The desktop like
editor,
manager.
like and you can and it's Bluetooth capable. And so like obviously this was coming, but they did that for the stage for you to take it out. But the stage you really could do all this stuff, but they developed that software and then they did this. So it's obvious they've thought of a lot of these things that they want to do way in advance.
Can you make profiles on the stage? You can, right?
So the only reason you couldn't, people said you couldn't, and this can't profile today, and it will with a future update,
The ins and outs.
is the ins and outs. So all it's going to do is give you an extra step where you're going to have to, it'll send stuff in, and so the out will be will go to the amp, and when it comes back, and then when you want to refine, you'll need to like plug your guitar take your guitar out. You have to switch and you have to basically unplug something, plug it back in. And you have to do it in 2 steps.
I mean, look,
rather than 1 step.
So, all right. Kemper is in a unique position because they were the first one, right?
Yeah.
That did this.
There may have been some software way back in the day I thought I heard about that like tried to do a similar idea, but yes.
But they were the first ones that were like really did the guitar, like digital profiling, go capture the sound of a thing. So they know too, like they know just as much as anyone, like what, like you said, they're listening to people, and actually props to them for when we have had conversations with them. They are genuinely interested in what would make their product better and all of that.
For sure.
But they're very aware that like most people aren't making profiles.
Yeah.
Most people are playing other people's profiles that they've made. And because while it's not a very difficult process to explain, it's a difficult thing to do well.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of actual skill. Like, I encourage everyone to try and do it. It's not trivial to like make it good. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't surprise me that like, especially for something that small, like, okay, yeah, technically it's capable of doing that. But like, they know that no one's actually going to use it.
No one's going to do it. And also, where do you fit? This is what I told me. I said, can it do profiling when this thing came out? And they were like, well, we couldn't fit more ins and outs on the back.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you would have to make this whole pedal larger if you wanted to do that. And then you start to take away from.
What are you optimizing for?
Yeah, you start to take from, I guess they could have fit like maybe an in there or I don't know. But, you do start to take away from like, well, if we make it half an inch wider, it is less small, and you don't want to do that.
Right.
So to me, their style has always been this. They're not in a rush. I think there's a ton planned. I think we're going to find out. I mean, I think they really, if they were interested in making the most money possible, this would have been a Mark I thing, right? And now there'd be a Mark II. But they sold this.
Right.
I don't know if this is the best-selling Kemper of all time. I don't know. I don't know if they're selling more of these now than anything else. But I one time made a comment to them with the thing. I said, hey, I remember the stage was like flying off the shelves. Is the Profiler player doing that well? And the comment I got back was, well, of course, if you sell a unit for $700, it sells more than, it's going to sell a lot better than much more expensive units. That was all I got back. It wasn't a yes, it wasn't a no. And it was early. They had just released it.
Right.
But I was being told hey, someone in the industry is reminding me, like, I might care a ton about features, but at the end of the day, like $700 sells a lot better than $1,700.
Well, yeah.
Feature, right? And it's like, don't forget that. It doesn't matter if the screen is there.
Well, it's like I said, it's what you're optimizing for. If you don't make your own profiles, you want to spend something. You don't want to spend all of your money, and you want to put it on a pedal board with other stuff that you like.
But there's a whole group of people too that are not going to spend over $1,000 on any one piece of their rig,
right?
Just for financial reasons or whatever, or they just don't value it that much because there's other competitors and they're going to buy something like that. So I think there's a lot of stuff coming. I think dual profiles. I'm excited as a person who makes profiles because. At first, I was thinking, oh, this new profile tech, cool. But I'm going to have to wait for people to buy this to really start selling them.
But now you're not.
If you have one of these, you got the Mark II.
Right. Well, and the other ones play them.
The other ones play them.
The other ones play. That'll be an interesting test to see profiles that you make, how different they sound on the Mark I and Mark II.
Yeah, and it becomes a whole thing, too, because now I'm like, I'm just thinking about myself here. But, it's like, okay.
It just got way more complicated to make profiles for
you. Well, I'm happy that so now I can get a new amp and I can make one set of Kemper profiles and it'll still work for everything, and that's great.
Yeah.
But it also means people are going to go, hey, the 74 Plexi, I use that all the time. Can you make a Mark II version? And all the Mark I players are going to be like, we already have this, and if it changes the quality, isn't that the same as I'm? So it's like, hey, I'll have to EQ things differently. I'll have to maybe use some different mics. I'll have to do something different, and that way it's kind of new for everybody.
Yeah.
Or I'll have to bundle some stuff. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll do something. But I'm excited about it because to me, I think there's a ton of stuff that's going to be in here that's coming. And I really think that dual thing is just hiding in there waiting.
Also, it's black.
It's cool looking.
Cool. Did we already say it looks cool?
But I wouldn't.
Sweet.
But people ask, I wouldn't. There's no reason to run out right now.
Not today. I think when some of the stuff in the future comes, maybe.
Yeah.
No,
No
I mean
reason to run out right
the
now.
only thing I would say is, depending on what comes out. So if you have a Kemper right now, like a Mark I,
Yeah.
depending on what comes out in 6 or 8 months, will depend on how quickly your Mark I loses its value. So if you think you want to sell that thing, you should probably sell it right now, because it will only be worth less and less money as time goes on. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking.
probably true.
I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
should I just do it? Should I just do it right now? Get a new Kemper. That way I've got it. I don't know.
Or to me, it's like, just get a player. Just get a player and go, well, the player will play the new ones.
Dude, if the player...
The player will play the new ones, and the old ones will play stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see. Okay, so one speculation that we had was that you'll be able to profile on the computer.
That's a rumor that someone put in a Sonic Drive Studio, put in a video. I don't know who's saying it. There's a couple people online who pretend to be like Kemper insiders, and they've made all sorts of calls. Sometimes they get something right, but they've also made all sorts of things wrong.
I mean, to be clear, you can use your computer now to control the Kemper while it profiles.
This is going to require.
But the actual
the rumor is it will require the computer. Your computer will be doing some of the training and
so like a Tonex situation where it's actually
And if that's the case, if all the training is happening on the computer,
Man.
I did hear about them going like, why? Some people going, so what is the Kemper just a giant dongle to like it? But my rebuttal to that would be, hey, wait a minute. Having a piece of hardware that handles and calibrates all the send and return levels is actually hugely valuable, because in the two communities, NAM and Tonex, where those things are variable, it's a mess. It's a mess because I couldn't get everyone together in a room and go, hey, dummies, listen.
Yeah.
It's very important that you send it at the level of your guitar, not some other level.
Right.
Not some 0 or minus 18 because you feel that it doesn't matter.
Right.
So now so for the rest of my life, I'm going to be answering the question.
People do weird things though. Like, remember that there was one customer, Metal Junkie customer, that claimed that we were like blowing out his eardrums.
I don't know what that was about. I don't know what that was
And he
about.
was on Quad Cortex.
I don't know what that was about. And I don't even know how it was possible.
What do you have against me?
I mean, literally, both of us are. I think we chatted about it or something, and I was I don't know what you are possibly doing. That,
well, it wasn't. It was some sort of a load failure or some sort of. I don't know. He said it was so loud. It was much louder than everything else and damages hearing. And I was basically like, I don't.
The unit with a master volume on it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Look, I believe the guy. I don't know, and I don't know. It also could be look, I've been doing this long enough to know it's. I'll never know the answer to the question. He might have leaned forward and grabbed his coffee, and it bumped the mat. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah. I don't know, but all I know is like I just tried this thing and I've recreated it. I've had all sorts of people say stuff. Man, I've got so many times, hey, I loaded in your preset and now it bricked my Helix. And I'm like, I can't, there's no button I can press on my end that says brick the user's Helix.
Yeah.
They don't.
And why would you?
There's no check. Yeah, no checkbox they give me that they don't give you, right? Like
what motivation do I have?
I want to do that.
Yeah, you're trying to sell things?
My favorite is I got this for years. It was like, I had someone say, I got these profiles from Michael Britt. He was from his private collection that he didn't sell. And it turns out it was actually Michael had given somebody a profile. Somebody passed on to somebody else, and then the lore starts.
Right.
And I'm over here like, what motivation would Michael Britt have to have created the world-changing guitar tone on the Kemper, and then go, you know what?
Right.
Never sell this.
Not gonna never sell it.
Too good.
Too good.
I'm gonna keep it for myself.
Too good.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make subpar stuff for everyone else, right? Like, you can't have this. It's too good. Why would anyone do that?
Right.
You would say, look at this thing. I'll put it up against anything else. Look at it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone would do that. But I've had people who would say stuff like,
that's really funny.
I think he, I don't think these ones he's putting out are the same as the demo because I never get them to sound the same. And so he must have other profiles for the demo. And I think, why would I go through the trouble?
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be so much harder to just make
It'd be so much
something
harder.
for the demo and then something else for
Right.
you.
It makes zero sense.
Why wouldn't I just give you the thing that I'm using?
I've
in the
already made
demo?
it. Yeah, I have
why-
access to it.
Why would I?
Yeah.
And whatever I'm doing, if I'm adding high end,
Right.
if I'm scooping it out, if I'm running, why would I
Yeah.
I don't.
The only way that you would do that would make it easier on you is to pretend like you're playing a profile when you're actually playing the real amp.
Well, I've had people accuse me.
Yeah,
of
I'm
that,
sure
too.
you have. Yeah.
And it's like
I know that you're not. I mean, I've been here.
Well, also, yeah. I mean, yeah, we've
But-
done demos here a million times. I mean, and also,
It's just funny.
it would be very loud.
No, that's the
That
thing.
would be a lot of trouble too.
People
Like, that
don't
would be,
realize.
you
People
know?
don't realize, especially the way you profile things. Yeah, I mean, there's actual cabinets in this room in this
Yeah,
other room,
yeah.
and it's we've been here.
Oh,
when
it's
we've been here, we're trying to do
crazy.
stuff. When you're
Yeah.
profiling, it's like I gotta get out of here. I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah.
Yeah, so people.
wow.
Anyway, this has been Guitar Friends. Let's do another episode after this, and then we'll jump to
Love
the
it.
real thing we want to talk
I
about.
love it. Well,
All right, I've been HW.
I've been Sooze.
I'm still John too. Still.